write a day that you started teaching that, and when you feel like the goal in reading or that learning target has been taught, then you can put a done date. You can go over these with your kids. You could say, I want to know that you can retell a story. Setting, 3 actions in the plot leading up to the climax, conflicts between characters, what is the problem, what do they want, need, what is their goal, how do they solve their issue, where do they meet the issue head on, can you show me in the story, can you prove it, what page would you find that on? Start with very simple picture books with few words and go through that process. This is a 3rd grade sample, but I think in taking the targets of her learning, or what does a 3rd grader need to know, it makes it very easy for you to have this sitting right beside you and use it, because the language is so simple with your kids. You can use it with your kids because it's simple for us. It's not professionalese. It's not, teacher jargon. It's really down to earth. So does anybody have a K-8 person? Again, can I see K-8 for people? Okay. So you definitely can find these I cans. And this packet will give you, right here, if you put this here, that would be a good resource. I know that Prime Link has their own version, which looks like this. This is grade 3 reading. And what they do is they put ask and answer questions to demonstrate understanding. It's not in an I can version, but they have a date introduced and a date completed. They have these for K-8. Okay? So if you have a high school student, you definitely could translate the standards into I can. I do that all the time when I'm teaching a class. If you want to Google high school, or if some of these cover high school and find that, you could. You would type in something like high school level I can core standard statements, something like that. Okay. So this is the tail end of topic 3. We're just going to cover briefly. The main gift of this packet is the word strategies. So if you are a parent at home and you're going, I think my child is an auditory learner, how should I teach spelling to an auditory learner? You might look here and get some ideas by looking through the packet. It's a resource for you, okay? So that's what I'm thinking. If you've gone through topic 3 and you continue working through the questions and the surveys, you can figure out what your kids are in terms of their learning style. So the rest of the packet is similar. Descriptors, what do these kids need, what makes their learning hum. It is strategies. So that is the tail end of topic 3 for you, and I would suggest collecting these into a binder. And I had a friend that used to say, I'll perk on that. Another friend said, I'll marinate on that. And I'll marinate in that, and I'm going, I like those words because I'm going marinating. It's kind of like that. There's no way to get this in your head all at once. But as you notice things in teaching your kids, if something triggers and you can go in and go, oh, I think that's what that was. That's what teachers do all the time. Don't think that we are just like arrived on the scene. We are always going, what was that over there that I saw from so-and-so today? And we go in here and we go, what do you think was happening there? what do you think was happening there, high school sophomore? And then you get their input, and then you devise a strategy for them. So, this page right here that you folks have, this page is my effort to bring something to you where you can begin putting all the things we've talked to, topics 1 through 3, into motion in your parent mind and heart as you're teaching, because you can't, you have to go with the flow of your day. You're doing some housework, you're doing some errands, you're teaching different levels of kids, you've got multiple things like a snow flurry going on in your head at the same time. So, how do you harness your attention for getting at something specific that you go, wait a minute, this week I need to focus on this with this child. So, here's a thought. Does everybody have this page in front of them? Okay. So, I wouldn't spend a lot of time on this, but if you feel a kind of a bulge in your own innards, like, I got to think up a plan for this particular child, then I would go there. I would go, I'll use that then, okay? So I would say my subject area might be reading. The parent goal, what am I looking at in my third grader for my parent goal at home? Maybe you're saying, I know that if the task is independent, they can last maybe 15 minutes without me sitting right beside them. Say that you want to move that student from 15 minutes of independent work to like 25 minutes. Then that could be a parent goal. You can put that up as your parent goal. This week I want to affirm them if they get to 25 minutes with a task that they can do, that they just need to do it because they know how to do it and they can do it on their own. The reason I put character focus there is because I would love it if, and I think most of our families kind of have this as part of what they want to accomplish with their kids. We have 50 character traits. You don't need to use the ones we have. But I have high school kids that come to me and say, would you write a letter of recommendation for college for me? Or for even K-8, I've had parents say, I'm going to a private school next year. I need a letter of recommendation. I go, okay. Or for a job interview, their first job. If your kids can use vocabulary words like, I'm a team player, I'm self-propelled, I show initiative, I'm extremely patient, I'm well organized. Those kinds of words, if you reflect them to them while they're working and you say, if my child can stay focused on task with the skill for 15 minutes, I'm going to make sure that I tell them that I'm proud of them for their work ethic. They stayed on task. They started it and they finished it. That's a work ethic thing. Going down to the pacing of learning, if you had the I can statements for K-8 or the standards for 9 through 12, and you were charting this journey yourself, you could kind of figure out September, I want to cover this standard to this standard. I want to focus on reading standard 1 through 5 or something like that. And you could kind of go, that's what I want to do, and then you would look up the I cans about that. You might make yourself a few notes about what ed materials you're going to use on that. Then you would come down here and you go, what do I know about my child's personality? If it were my child, I would say my child is an otter. And I don't know much about you, Chris, but you might be an otter. And otters have to have a variety, and it has to be fun in order for them to buy in. At least that's the way it was for my daughter. She needed short, down to the bottom line about what she was learning, and it needed to be engaging, fun. So for her to buy in. So what do you know about their personality? What do you know about the way they're affirmed? Don't get weirded out about the word love. It just means affirmation, value. How do your children know that you're valuing them while they're learning? Do they need physical touch? A tap on the shoulder, good job. Do they need proximity from you? Do they need a quality time? Do they need a small gift? Do they need a word of encouragement? What is there? That was topic 3 for those of you that weren't here. How do they order information? How do they take in information concretely or abstractly? How do they order it? Sequentially or randomly? How do they concentrate? They need it cold in the room. They need low light or a lot of light. They need a little background music. They need to sit on a beanbag chair. What is it that they need? They need to chew gum while they're working. What is it? You know, that's that. I have a whole page on that kind of stuff. And then ways to understand. Do they like to understand the big picture first and then the parts? Or are they going to tell me just one part, Mom, Dad? Then tell me the big picture, then go back to that one part, or else I'm going to be lost. Don't tell me, do A, B, and C. You lost me. Let me do A, and I'll come back to you. Then let me do B, and I'll come back to you, and then let me do C. That's sequential. Okay? Ways to remember: auditory, visual, kinesthetic, tactile. Auditory is I need to talk about my learning. Singing, jingles, rhymes, raps, all that kind of. If I read out loud to myself, I'm probably an auditory learner. Kinesthetic. Put there, and there. T-H-E-I-R, T-H-E-R-E, T-H-E-Y, apostrophe R-E, on the floor. Read me a sentence, and I will jump on the right word. Kinesthetic. Okay? Let me move. Don't put me in paper pencil. Let me move. Okay? That's kinesthetic. Tactile is let me draw my letters in the sand. Let me draw them in the air for you. Let me make my body that body shape would be kinesthetic. The ways I'm smart is the last thing we talked about on Friday if you were here. There's 8 different ways, and I asked you to kind of put your check marks in there and determine. This is the way I'm thinking you could use this paper. If you want to come back for a Series 2 topic on a Thursday or Friday second block, and you bring in your topic 3 information about you or your child, we'll do it one way or the other. We'll put you guys together in this. So here it says strategies to try. So you would pull out your B packet, and you would go, try this, try this, try this. Just little notes to yourself. Post this on the refrigerator, move on with life. So, what do you think? Anybody have any comments? That kind of like help you put it all together?
I missed topic 3, so I've got a gap.
I missed
but it sounds
topic
good.
3. So, the pieces are still out there in my mind. So, Aggie, yes.
Just a question on this. Are you able to zoom that at all so the print is bigger?
If I zoom, it will zoom into
Blurriness, okay.
one area, and then I should be able to focus.
So when you start topic 4 then, maybe if you held it up, because I'm assuming that whoever's watching this is going to be given printed materials to go with your talks. So just if you can reference these at the beginning of it.
So zoom in and show them, and then.
Well, it's the beginning of the talk. Tell people to flip, to their packet and get this out. And I don't know if it's going to be able for them to be able to see that because it looks really small on here.
Okay.
I just picture if I'm trying to watch it on TV, I'm never going to be able to follow along unless you can zoom that more.
Okay. So we are not being videoed at this point.
No, we're not.
Okay. What up? Okay.
Watch it on your phone.
I'm actually glad that we had the first little bit here just to see how this is working.
If you watch it on your phone, you can zoom it.
Right, but if
For those people, yeah.
right. But
Okay.
if people are watching this on a disc or
On a computer, you might be able to, but.
So those of you that have been here for topic 3, is there anything that you can give me? This was an experiment last year. So some people say, oh, it's like too confining. I don't think I could get into it. And other people said, oh, I think it might work. I'll try it out. Or I said, do you want it rearranged a different way? Do you want it to look a different way? But what I'm trying to say is inside your heads as you move along, you'll find that this stuff just kind of goes whoo, into your own heads like this. And pretty soon you might go, I know that one of my kids really likes being outdoors looking at leaves. So I'm going to use leaves for everything I do, math, science, history. I'm going to find somebody who studied leaves, everything. And we're going to go out and do leaves, and I'm going to thread it through all my learning. I'm going to try that, at least for a portion of what you're teaching, because what happens is the kids buy in, because they're interested, so they buy in. Anybody have a comment? Tracy? What brilliant? Nothing brilliant?
Not right now. I wasn't here for 3 either.
Okay, very interesting, Mrs. Furtick. Maybe someday, or not on your life.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If they like stories about certain subjects, would you have them write a story about those subjects so they can read it and enjoy it?
Ask Aggie.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of homeschooling, because if you're trying to teach them something that they're motivated to learn, you're going to get so much in there and they're going to retain it.
There you go.
And if you have this like master list that you're going to get to topic A, B, C this year, and you only get to A and B, well then you know what, do C next year, or don't do C at all. You're better off to go deeper than rock skim.
Okay, now Aggie is a home-based instructor, so she taps into classes that she wants here, and then she goes back home. Some of you are not that. You're in a fully funded 2-day class link. So they're driving your ship a little bit more with do this at home, do this at home. And remember, we're trying to encourage, even in the high school, we're trying to say find your footing on that. So if your sons? Whoa. So if they come home and they're gagging on a concept, and you're looking at the book and you're going, this is going to kill them. I'm going to teach it a different way because I know something about their learning style. And you harness the relationship with them, go have fun learning that thing, then say, now let's go back and translate it into the evidence that your teacher is asking for. See? So we had a big talk about that this morning with families, and they were kind of getting the hang of it. They were going, oh, okay, so if I have fractions and I need to go teach fractions in the kitchen, I'm going. And then I'm coming back, and I'll do, at the end, when I feel like I've gotten the concept down, I will have my child do the page. Or if I have a totally different ed material that I particularly like because my child's learning style, but yet the ed material the school gave me says produce this, then I will work through my ed material to get the understanding, play with it a little bit, and say, no, okay, let's translate it into the evidence for the teacher. And then the kids won't feel like they're being deemed so much because you're having a whole bunch of fun with them at home, and you're saying, hey, we just got to speak 2 languages here. Let's go back and produce this thing, okay? Could you play with this? And if you have a desire to play more, come on Thursday and Friday, block 2, and bring your, your questions, and we'll play with it. Okay, so now we're going to start launching into this topic here. Okay, see if I can get this. Okay, so the topic for today is homeschooling thrives on healthy time management. I just want to say that I consider people like Aggie, that is filming this session, mother of 8 and homeschooler for 18 years. Those kinds of folks are going to be your go-to people and your experts. What I've done is I've gone online and I've taken a look at what homeschool families have done. My research is just that. It's research to support a picture. I'm sure there's more information out there online. So let's go into the PowerPoint. You should have the PowerPoint before you. It should look like this. Each slide is there. And I just put that there because I know that I don't want you to have to take a lot of notes. I want you freed up just to listen and to interact up here and to interact with each other and raise hands and ask questions. But if there's something that you want to look back on, just write some notes below. And if there's something you want to ask, you can stop us anytime and ask it. Or make a comment. I learn as much from you as I'm supposed to be teaching you, maybe more as we go along. So I do appreciate your input. It should be coming up. Yes. Yay. The information for healthy time management comes out of several online sources there at the end of the slideshow. And we'll just go ahead. And the concepts are based on some key ideas about from which moms and dads have looked out into the corporate business world or the medical world. And they've taken some key ideas from those folks as well. So there are some key ideas, there's some sample schedules, and there's 5 time management strategies that you might be able to glean from. Some of the key ideas, and this slide is just missing, I just added it. There are some important ideas that become ideas that should become priorities. So when you look up here and you go, you know, that kind of tickles my fancy, let it go deeper than that. If it's something that becomes a core value in your family, you gotta, I think one of the main questions is to ask what matters most and how do I do it. A family that was looking at me, the mom was looking at me so strangely, I thought, is she liking what I'm saying or is she not liking what I'm saying? She left the session, she went home, she came back and she goes, I did it. And I went, she had a smile on her face. I go, what'd you do? Oh no. She says, I asked myself what matters most with what I'm doing with my kids this year. And then she decided, I'm losing my daughter, I'm not connecting, we're doing too much, of not the right thing. I think I need to reassess and back out of and change up. She goes, I did that, and I got it back. I got the sweet spot with my daughter back, we're humming now, we're doing great. And she goes, that really helped me. Okay, what helps us? This is a business world question or thought. Do more of what works and less of what doesn't work. When you are teaching, you need to ask yourself, am I doing little practice work that is just keeping them busy, that is using up their energy for attending to me? Do they need to do it that way? Can they do it in a more fun, more engaging way? The other idea in the business world is to do 20% of meaningful work that produces 80% results instead of 80% output. That's spinning your parent wheels and only getting 20% result. So if you find your family grinding to a halt, the energy being lost, or you put a concept in and you get a kind of an affective emotional block, like not interested, can't take it in, I'm tired, don't want to do, I'm procrastinating. If I'm a high school student, I can procrastinate. That's what they like to do. Evaluate how you're doing something, how you're teaching, how much, when they're doing. Evaluate. What is it that you need to change? From the medical arena, comes this thought, and this is all on a homeschool website, but it's caught by a medical field person, a doctor. Maintain an 80% workload boundary with a 20% margin. So it kind of helps me to think about this when you're thinking about your kids' lives and the schedule that you're leading with your kids. If you guys like, I don't know if you like the aerobic exercise training thing that you do, maybe like at 24-hour fitness, but you're supposed to do, I think it's 200 minus your age times 0.7 gives you your training heart rate. You're supposed to work at 70% of your heart rate, not 100% of your heart rate. This is the same idea. If your family's working at 100% of their maximum output, you are, they are, the kids are, the dad is, you're going to have a depletion, a kind of fatigue. You're not going to be able to carry through the entire year because in the home you want to kind of have a way of refreshing your journey. I don't know if any of you have stories about how you refresh. Does anybody have a story? Aggie, you've been doing it the longest. Do you have any? Just think about it and raise your hand when you've got an idea. Chris, do you have a you what?
He said beer.
Beer.
Oh, that's how you refresh? So let's take that into a kid realm. Okay?
They get orange juice.
They get orange juice. So snacks, food can refresh kids, right? A break. I know one mom that came out of, listen, you guys, because this mom had twins. You guys have twins, this mom had twins, she and her husband. They came from New Zealand back to Northwest. They came from a 5-day classroom, now they're homeschooling. They had a gloriously sunny day, and the kids were going like this, getting irritated. She goes, stop what you're doing, go out on the trampoline. So she pushed their refresh button, okay? So, what do your kids need to refresh and to keep going? So let's take a look at margin. Margin is the distance between where you are and your personal limit. There was one second-generation homeschool mom who was sitting here, rocking babies, standing rather, rocking babies and watching the little one on the floor. And she says, I have a story about this. She goes, when I was in high school and I was being homeschooled, I was working to my max, 100%. I was involved in community service. I was caring for a home and learning how to teach younger people. I was doing my own schoolwork. I was involved in these outside sports. She goes, I burned out. I actually got mono. She said, I got sick. And mom said, nothing for 21 days. Absolutely nothing. Now when you're homeschooling, and she was home-based, she could shut down the shop and give that daughter a reset button. The mom was telling me on that day, she goes, that experience helped me get acquainted with my boundaries. Helped me realize how much to expend and how much not to expend, or to ask what matters most and how not to do those other things, and to feel comfortable with that. She says to this day, it has helped me make decisions. As a mom now who is homeschooling. That really helped me. I thought that was really cool. So we all have different thresholds for margins. Those of us that are wired like beavers, if you've been into topic 3 and you know you're a beaver, you can tend to work and work and work, because beavers are industrious people. They put themselves full in to whatever they're working on, and they can go way past their tired bone and keep doing it. Not saying it's good for them. So if you've got a beaver child, you need to help them watch for developing healthy margins. It is that place around life that we have time to ponder and think and respond and feel. And if you're losing that because you're doing too much, and if your kids are losing that because they're involved in too much, rethink it. Don't feel like a failure. Recognize we are getting burned out. We are losing energy. You're going to have that feeling in November. You're going to have that feeling in February. And you will have that feeling in that long space between February and spring break, right? And I can tell you teachers are exactly the same way. We are puffing and panting, trying to get to the end, trying to maintain our energy because we're giving of ourselves, just like you guys are, and giving to your children. So think about that and put into your week. Oh, I remember, I'll tell you a story. There was one mom here that started calculating. I thought she was being distracted and doing something different. She was on the calculator going, okay, 25 hours of education, right? And then she was thinking, how many hours in the week do we have? When do we get up and when do we go to bed? And she was going, if I was to take 20% out of that, how many hours would I have that we need to give the kids downtime? That's not time I designed. That's not time that I'm making them do something like go feed the dog or whatever. It's their time to reset their button. And you can talk about, how do you refresh? How do you personally refresh? How does your daughter refresh? How do you refresh? How do the kids refresh? What do they need to do? And put that into your day. I think she found out that it was probably, I think somewhere between 6 hours and 7.5 hours a week. Came out to about 20%. And so when you're planning your weekly schedules for your kids, put that time in there. And then talk about what it is, what the purpose of it is. And say, by the end of these minutes that I'm giving you in this day, that are called the margin time, I want you to come back and tell me, I feel better, I'm ready to go again. So that's your time to do what you need, and teach them how to do that. Teach them how to do that. One of the questions we had is, should we wait until they deserve it? Is margin time what they get because they finished their work? I'll leave that to you. I really will leave that to you. Because I think kids that have had a bad day and who don't exactly know how to get started on work, they don't have good attending skills, you're working on that. How can you teach them an ebb and flow that's healthy? Is it by keeping margin time from them? Or by saying margin time is yours whether you finished your work or not? Other stuff might not be yours, but there is a margin time. Maybe they don't watch the movie at night with, or maybe they don't go over to a friend's. I don't know what you do, but maybe margin time should be something that they get anyway. Because what's happening is they need a quiet noodle, or they need to go out and shake out the cobwebs. I saw a TED Talk on a young lady, a TED Talk on online. You guys know what TED Talks are? Targeted talks about specific topics where people have discovered certain aspects of life that make it hum. And this young lady was telling how she gets ideas for composing her next, trying to think of, she is intensely musical. And she composes these classical pieces of music, and she's 10.